What occurs when someone dedicates months to portraying themselves as completely helpless and victimized, only for a judge to suddenly unseal a document in which they boasted about holding all the control? No clue, but Blake is on the verge of discovering it firsthand. There's a unique wave of dread that hits a star the moment they grasp that the federal judiciary has zero interest in protecting their carefully curated social media image. Right now, Blake Lively is experiencing that dread in full force. Until just yesterday, the whole saga played out as a battle purely for public eyes, full of strategic leaks, hand-picked anonymous tips, and efforts to steer the story before facts could catch up. Back in December 2024, her lawsuit complaint landed straight in the New York Times almost instantly, molding everyone's views long before the other side could even draft a proper reply. That's textbook dominance. That's someone convinced they've got the game completely locked down. But yesterday, Judge Lyman examined the situation, stared straight at Blake, and basically overturned the chessboard entirely. He released a detailed 16-page decision addressing all the sealing motions submitted by both sides. For anyone not glued to Pacer updates every night, a sealing motion is essentially a famous person pleading, "Your Honor, this stuff is way too humiliating. Please keep it hidden from regular folks." In most celebrity disputes, courts tend to be accommodating and prioritize discretion. But if you're tracking this one, go ahead and mark a giant failing grade in red ink on Blake's scorecard. She didn't just lose, she got crushed. The defeat was so decisive it implies the judge was genuinely irritated by how bold her demands were. Almost every piece she attempted to shield by invoking third-party confidentiality is headed straight for the public docket. And the timing? It's pure tragic comedy for her publicity squad. We're now facing a tight window, just 5 days ahead of oral arguments on Wayfarer's push for summary judgment. 5 days before Blake must defend her own request for spoliation penalties, that legal jargon for accusing someone of wiping out proof. Yet she'll have to make that argument in a public courtroom while everyone online pores over the exact files she battled desperately to suppress. Happy holidays in the dead of winter, folks. The massive reveal is here, and whatever spills out of this open box will completely reshape how we view this entire dispute. Before diving into the exact countdown, and yes, I'll share the precise moment to watch for, let's discuss the so-called good guy. Let's talk about the individual who's spent months lurking in the shadows of his wife's legal fight, like someone ducking behind their partner in a game of dodgeball. Ryan Reynolds. For ages now, he's been the invisible force driving parts of this. Reports say he's the one who stormed into a space and went face-to-face with Justin Baldoni, all while Taylor Swift and Hugh Jackman observed like spectators at some bizarre arena spectacle. Supposedly, it's his high-level WME contact who coordinated the move to cut Baldoni loose from the agency. Legally, though, Ryan sits outside the actual case. So Blake's approach was cleverly straightforward: invoke outsider privacy protections. She insisted that since Ryan isn't named in the suit, all his messages, emails, and interactions deserved permanent lockdown. It seemed like an easy escape route. Judge Lyman wasn't convinced. He examined piles of evidence showing exchanges between Ryan Reynolds and key WME players, then ruled the whole batch must be made public. Every last bit. Blake's lawyers cried foul over privacy, and the judge flat out rejected it. Even WME tried a standalone bid to keep things under wraps, claiming their staff had no clue about on-set events. Denied again. Why is any of this significant? Because the curtain is about to lift on the real operator. Consider Ryan Reynolds' public image for a moment. It's been rock solid. He's the witty, humble everyman, the husband who pokes fun at himself first. That whole vibe is worth billions. It moves liquor brands, telecom deals, even sports franchises. But legal discovery couldn't care less about marketing value. We're on the cusp of viewing live discussions around ousting Justin Baldoni. We'll see the back and forth between Ryan and his reps during the period when his wife supposedly faced mistreatment during filming. Expect raw, unfiltered glimpses into how Hollywood leverage actually operates. And I strongly suspect the voice in those messages won't match the lighthearted persona posting quips online. That polished facade is headed for a hard crash. If you believe Ryan's potential exposure is rough, hold on for the PGA letter bombshell. This moment delivers irony so dense it's practically tangible. It's the ultimate legal cell phone. Quick rewind. Blake lively signed on purely to perform and it ends with us. Actress, that was the gig. Yet at some stage after early rehearsals and before final edits, she concluded that role wasn't sufficient. She felt entitled to a producer designation. Not some token title, either. She pursued the formal PGA certification from the Producers Guild. That credential carries serious weight. It broadcasts authority and signals you ran the show. She pursued it aggressively enough to draft an official request to the PGA. But approval required nods from Wayfarer and Sony. From surfaced emails, Jamie Heath didn't merely pause. He labeled her demand unfair and lacking empathy. He stated the project was wrongly stripped from Justin in his directing capacity due to Blake's actions. He made clear they only consented to endorse the letter under duress. He accused her of perpetually dangling threats, forcing compliance whenever they resisted. Pay close attention. This forms the turning point for the whole litigation. Those statements come directly from official court submissions, not speculation. So apparently, Blake aggressively campaigned to establish herself as a dominant producer. She aimed to broadcast her influence over every aspect of the picture. She openly touted her command in press appearances. Yet in the current suit, she's desperate to bury that same letter. She's fighting to conceal proof of her own authority. The reason? Her legal position hinges entirely on appearing powerless. She's promoting the idea that she was at the mercy of her superior, compelled to tolerate supposed mistreatment without any real influence to push back. You can't lobby the Producers Guild to affirm your clout one day, then insist to a federal judge the next that you wielded none. Pick one version, Blake. Either you steered the vehicle or rode along. You can't claim both at once. The judge pierced straight through the contradiction. He directed the letter released, allowing just minimal blackouts. Soon the public will read her own words about her position and grapple with matching the helpless victim version against the commanding producer version. Newsflash, those two can't coexist. And right when you figure the double standards can't get any sharper, enter the home address fiasco, the tastiest, most flavorful hypocrisy across the full 16-page ruling. Privacy protections for one side, full exposure for the other. Blake's attorneys submitted filings that left Justin Baldoni's and Jamie Heath's residential addresses completely visible. No redactions, their current homes, sleeping quarters, family locations, all exposed in open court records for any obsessive online user to locate. The identical group howling about third-party privacy to shield Ryan's messages showed zero hesitation dumping defendants' home details publicly. Absorb that. Blake demands Ryan's communications sealed for privacy reasons. She pushes to conceal testimony involving others' health issues for privacy. But when it involves the literal safety of Justin Baldoni, that's fair game for the world to see. Even Judge Lyman couldn't ignore the glaring inconsistency. He observed a complaining party building an ironclad shield around her circle while distributing literal directions to her adversaries' doorsteps. It extended beyond just Blake and her lawyers. The outside entities backing her got rejected too. Sony Pictures lodged a sealing bid. William Morris Endeavor did the same. Isabella Ferrer, Betty B, Holdings, Family Hive, all piled on. Judge Lyman's answer was a blanket denial across the board. The sole protection granted covers basic personal details like contact numbers. One lone Sony item remains sealed. Nothing more. Contrast that with Wayfarer's requests. They sought safeguards for routine business matters, client names, health records, financial figures. The judge approved the bulk of those while rejecting most of Blake's. Focus on the sequence here, because it exposes the calculated play. This decision landed January 15th, right before Blake's camp leaked news of retaining a high-profile PR attorney. Classic damage control tactic. Flood the zone with mild headlines to blunt incoming negativity. They anticipated the ruling. They knew the floodgates were opening. Rather than brace for the content, they opted for another media diversion. It's the identical strategy she's employed since feeding her complaint to the New York Times. Dominate the initial impression. Craft the storyline ahead of any rebuttal. Secure victory in the arena of headlines long before setting foot in a real courtroom. So what's next? The timer is running. Oral arguments on Wayfarer's summary judgment bid are locked for January 22nd, next Thursday. But the true explosion comes earlier. Judge Lyman set a firm cutoff for both sides to resubmit filings compliant with his order, January 21st at 1 p.m. By Tuesday afternoon next week, Ryan Reynolds' W.Me exchanges go live. The PGA letter documenting Blake's quest for producer validation becomes accessible. Excerpts from her deposition hit the public. Everything. Come Wednesday afternoon, all barriers drop. Messages, correspondence, testimony, all laid bare without filters, without cherry-picked secrecy, without image control. Just documents, plain and simple, facing a judge who evidently lost all patience. Blake invested months attempting to triumph in the public relations arena. Sadly for her, this battle unfolds in federal court, where clever captions carry no weight as proof and overconfident swagger crumbles under scrutiny. The playing field vanished. The setup vanished. Now the evidence gets to tell its own story. And yeah, that's strictly my take.